Welcome back to the channel. It is review time again. Now this one has been around for an awfully long time, I realise that, but it was an interesting find at a model show recently, and it's topical because the Char B1 has just been reissued by Tamiya, so it is doing the rounds again for a little bit. It was gone for an awfully long time. They haven't seemed to have done this version yet, again, but this is basically the German version. So in this box you get everything you get in the Char B box, but you get an extra sprue which has some of the interesting German bits that were added to it. So you've got a different cupola, different jack, aerial mount, and a block of, well, it's armour, but it's a block of sheet metal filled with concrete, which is another extra bit of armour up there. So let's have a look in the box and see what we got. So starting off with just a small quick run through the instructions. This is the Panzerkampfwagen B2 740 is the other designation. Got a nice write up here in English, German, and a few other languages I don't recognise. I think that's French and obviously Japanese. So as we run through, we find a decal sheet, which we'll look at in a minute. So this being a Char B, it's going to have, the running gear is going to be quite a thing. So we've got all of these wheels to put together that slot into this sort of trough that holds it. Then that gets joined together to build up the hull. Then we're on to the sprocket, idler, and starting to bring that together with the actual 75mm gun there as well, the howitzer in the middle. That is a two-part section, so something to watch out for there on the seam. Then we start to bring the rest of it together to close in the lower part of the hull, ready for the superstructure, or the upper hull. And you've got some parts here to drill out for different versions, depending on what you're going to do, so just check through on your marking schemes. Then the tank's starting to come together with that big block joining on to the lower hull, bringing the complete hull together. Then just a few more fixings onto the front here, and side doors and access panels. Then we've got the tracks as well, which are snapped together workable tracks, which are pretty good. Very minor cleanup. You just need to sand the top, and they're flattened off anyway after a bit of use, so that won't hurt. And then if you're doing the German version, this is where the extra armour gets put on, and a few of the other small bits. That's just for a couple of versions, I believe. Not every version has that armour applied to it. The exhaust section going on the back, and then we've got the chain. So you're meant to cut the hooks here to thread the chain on and then glue it back together, which is a different way of going about it, I must admit. And then you hang the chain in whatever manner you want, I would imagine. Then through here we're just finishing off with the two different types of cupola, depending on which version you're doing. That slots in again in a kind of way that the turret slots in as well, so it goes in and slides around. And then we've got a French crew member or a German crew member just sitting out the back of the turret there, depending on which version you're going to do. And then the tow hook as well is done at this point, and that completes the build. Just looking at the marking options, so we've got a full camouflage scheme here, which is the 213th Heavy Panzer Battalion headquarters in the Channel Islands, spring 1944. Quite a lot of these went over to the Channel Islands actually, just after the Battle of France, and stayed there. Certainly the one at Bovington came from the Channel Islands. Then we got a German grey one, again in the Channel Islands, June 1942. So that is a different one. I was thinking it might have been a converted version of that one, but it's not. Then we've got, which I find quite interesting, one of these heading over into Barbarossa, or the Eastern Front, June 1941. So I'm not sure if it actually made it into Russia, but it's on the Eastern Front around the right sort of time, so who knows. It's obviously travelled a long way to get that side. And then interestingly, and it's a nice option for this, you've got a recaptured, by the looks of it, because it's still got the German bits on it, a Free French Forces version here from La Rochelle in April 1945, and it's overall basically olive drab with the French markings and American stars, so that's a nice touch as well. And then we've got a massive data fact sheet here in all the different languages again, telling you all about the use. This is the liberation of Paris, which tells you about the Dragoon regiment that seems to have captured one and reused it. So that's very nice. You know, the more information with these subjects, the better. It really enriches the build, I find. Very good on Tamiya to add that in. So looking at the decals there, we've got quite a lot of white options, and then the red 102, 101 at the top. Carrier film is quite large around some of the white bits there. It's pretty hard to tell in this light. There you go. That's what we're looking at. So it's pretty solid blocks all around the numbers. I always like to cut around those just to make life a bit easier. Something to bear in mind. But that's Tamiya decals. They don't look too thick, to be honest. So one of the most interesting one of the most interesting parts of this is the tracks, which come as these bag of snap-tight tracks like this, and they've got one ejector pin mark just on the top there, which you need to take care of. And it's actually not a bad thing, because they were flattened down anyway, like I was saying, as they used them. So that won't hurt, and they work very well. I've seen these used in many of the builds, so I won't open this, but because the detail's there, you can, there's nothing really to see. It's just that little white pin there, and you get the chain in this one as well. It's like one of Tamiya's sort of extras, but it's all added in the kit. So starting off with the turret, we've got you've got all the parts in this one to do the French or the German one, and this is where the French figure is. And you've got the nice sort of cast texture on the turret, very subtle. All looks pretty good. There's the two halves to the cupola there as well, so there's going to be a join there that you need to sort of think about. But overall, everything's very, very crisply done. And you've got some loose tools here as well, and it's all very nice to see. It's good stuff. Very topical at the minute to have this kit with the R35 due to come out. So great stuff for French armour fans. So the next sprue here caters for the side fenders. These do look to be different. So there's options there, presumably. I can't quite see what the differences are. Then you've got the side panel for the radiator outlets and a few other small parts, all very crisply done as you come to expect from Tamiya. No flash, no mould lines, and no real ejector pin marks in places where you're going to worry about them. Then we've got the main piece for the lower hole and the sides for that as well, which is all looking really good. We've got nice raised bolt detail here, which looks really good actually. Very crisply done, running down there. You've even got the escape hatch here on the underside of the hull, so it's a nice touch as well. You've got R and L for right and left sections, which is making up parts for the front, like bits that stick out at the front where the idlers go, because the sprocket is at the rear, so it's a rear drive, this tank. Then we've got the impressive one-piece moulding of the upper hull, which is very good. I'm really impressed with this. Nice raised bolt detail all down the side there and all along the top. Really, really great. You've got the nice hollowed out areas with rims running around for these doors, which are going to mean that fit is very good, especially it being Tamiya. And the louvers here as well, nice and deep, that look sort of deep enough to be to look the part. And these are the areas where you need to drill out for certain options, probably something to do with the fenders. And we're nearly there with the sprues. So these are the wheels, so you've got duplicate sprues here, the sprockets, the one half of the 75mm gun, some of the exhaust outlets, and the many small little wheels there. All looks, again, very good, very crisp, nicely done, no defects or anything like that right the way across this one. Looks really, really good. And then it's time for the one sprue that makes this a German variant, and all of those parts are catered for on here. So you've got the German figure, the extra armour, toe cables, here the eyes for the toe cables, you get string for the toe cable, which works reasonably well. The large jack on the side of the vehicle as well, which is an important feature of the German one. And then a change out on the tools as well for German ones. So that was the Tamiya B1 BIS German Army, which is the Char B1 under German use. Great package. It's brilliant that Tamiya decided to go ahead and, after doing the Char B1, which is, impressive in itself, they actually redid it with an extra sprue to add the German bits, which is straight on the tank at Bovington that I've seen when I bought this kit. I took some pictures of that, and I'll leave you with some pictures of that after this video. Just a few close-up things of the actual German bits, which I was talking about: the jack, the aerial, the cupola, and the block of cement stroke armour at the front. So hopefully you enjoyed that view. Let me know your comments below, I always like to read them. Thanks for staying tuned to the channel. If you'd like to see more, please consider subscribing. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like, because it helps with all the YouTube things. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.